everyone here online. Let me
Same
begin.
here, Ma. Thank you.
Yes, let me begin by sincerely apologizing for just joining the class now. I'm 1 hour behind schedule. I sincerely apologize. Something came up at the office that I quickly needed to sort with my boss. So I just finished now. This is not going to be the pattern. Getting to class on time is something I take very seriously. And if I knew that my engagement would take this long, I would have sent out a message asking you to give me some time. So please indulge me just for today. I would make sure that I keep to time, and if anything is going to be different, I'll let you know well ahead of time. So we are here in this beautiful, wonderful class, and we are here to engage on a course that is very, very central to your training, to your professional development, to your practice as social workers. For any class I take, I always want first to let my students understand the rationale for being in that class. I think that serves a very important purpose because, as human beings, we do a lot of things. And it is the value we attach to those things that determine the amount of seriousness we're going to attach to the engagement. A student that is taking, for example, a test in SS1, maybe a biology test in SS1, cannot be compared, the attitude of that student cannot be compared to what his or her attitude would be if they were sitting for JAM. Because somewhere at the back of the student's mind, the students understand the difference in value. Let me put it that way. The student understands the difference in value between sitting for a test in her biology class and sitting to write JAM. So it's very important for us to understand why we're doing what we're doing. I can see Rosemary online. How are you, Rosemary? Good afternoon. Rosemary, out again. Daniela, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma.
Yeah, good to have you.
Thank you, ma.
Yeah. So I was talking about the importance of understanding the reason behind what we are doing, how central the course IP 405 Social Work Communication Skills is to our output, to our training, to our practice and professional development as social workers. That would be something very important for us to engage ourselves on. I am kind of biding my time, trying to see if we are going to have more students in class today. But since I don't even know the total number of students, I may not be able to tell when we have had enough. So I think I'll just take a pause concerning that now and find out if you have a rep or a class governor in charge of the activities of the class. Do you have a class governor, please?
No, ma.
So why is that? That's not going to be helpful. There should be someone responsible for coordinating the activities, like assignments or whatever it is you need to do. You may have questions, everyone cannot be asking the same question at the same time. Your class governor will be in charge of reaching out to your lecturers, getting clarifications and all of that. So I strongly want to suggest that you work this out amongst yourself and let us know who is going to represent you when issues that have to do with engagement with classes and assignments and all of that are being discussed. Okay, so how many students have been in class, maybe from other lectures you've had?
We've had 11, 12 or so.
Okay, you've had up to 12 at some point.
Yes.
Then this is a very low turnout today. What could be responsible for this? Because if I had come to class on time, we will still be on the lecture now. And that message I sent out should at least alert class members to the fact that the class will still hold today. Okay, let's move on. If there are people you can quickly send text messages to, please do that. There are others you can reach out to on WhatsApp. Please quickly do that so that we can have a better turnout. I'm going to leave the attendance taking. That's part of what your class governor is supposed to be doing. Your class governor should be the one taking attendance for each class and then sending the record of that to the lecturer. So, that's another important thing. But I'm going to hold up with taking this attendance for today until the end of the class so that we can give room to other people who may join us later. Okay, so quickly, let me start off the introduction because that's something we need to do. It's an online class, fine, but it doesn't mean we can know one or two things, even if it's virtually, about one another. So as the lecturer for this course, I am by name Vivian Adebola Alofe. Dr. Vivian Adebola Alofe. I am a full-time lecturer at the Federal College of Dental Tech and Therapy. Although, I've been a teacher all my working life, from the very days of my NYSC up until now. So teaching has become part of who I am. And by the grace of God, I have taught across all levels of education, all primary, secondary, tertiary, all. And I started off my career as an English language teacher, and as I progressed in my academic qualification, I became a university lecturer, still in English language, joining the Fedpoten community as a lecturer in the Department of General Studies. And that was where my interest in the social work was birthed. You know, my interest in language, in English language, has been in the area of communication from the very start. I've done the bulk of my research in the area of communication, how language can be used to get results, how communication can facilitate human interaction, how we can use communication to get desired results. That has been my area. And when I veered off into social work, naturally, I ended up in the area of communication, because communication is a concept that cuts across all human endeavors. There's nowhere you go, ranging from engineering to medicine to teaching to agriculture, whatever it is, you find a slot for communication there. Because without communication, human beings cannot function in such a complex society. So that's how I ended up in your class to take this course that has to do with communication skills in social work. So having said that, I'm going to leave the floor open for each member of the class to briefly introduce themselves. It doesn't have to be as lengthy as that, but as I feel an obligation as your lecturer to let you understand the background I'm coming from. But in your own introduction, you can just take it as it seems best to you. You can tell us your name, you tell us where you're from, you can tell us what you do, and you can also tell us your interests. What exactly is your interest? What is that aspect of social work that fascinates you the most? So can we set that rolling with Chiamaka?
Hello, Chiamaka Okoye is my name. A student of College of Dental, a social worker, and from Anambra. I have interest in maybe childcare.
Right?
Yeah,
That's
social work. Yeah.
Can I ask why that is the case? Out of all the different specialties in social work, why are you interested in childcare?
Maybe as a mother, and maybe I love being in the circle of children and all that. Yeah. So I want to know more about, children, how to handle them, take care of them, and maybe advocate for them in the future. That's it.
Very good. That's a very good one. That part of advocacy is very important, because children are a group in society who cannot speak for themselves. So if you devote your time to studying more about children so you can advocate on their behalf, that's a very good one. Thank you very much, Chiamaka.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So any other person can just unmute and have a go.
Good evening, all.
Good evening.
My name is Lami Sunday. I'm from Kaduna State, and I work here at Dental College, currently a social work student. And my first background is on mass communication, HND in mass communication. And social work aspect, initially I was actually looking at welfare.
Okay.
And but last semester I when we had the course geriatric social work, gerontology, and I began to look towards that. I'm beginning to have interest in that area, and hopefully I work towards that.
So what sparked your interest in gerontology?
Yes, I before then I never knew there's this aspect of social work. But then I used to have, there is a life experience then we have had with an older person. Yes, I've had a life experience with an older person that's close to me that was being maltreated and all that. So it actually caught my attention, and I think I told Chiamaka about it, and I'm actually looking towards this gerontology.
Beautiful. That's a very good one. You know, the fact that you can assess, you can evaluate your initial decision. That's a good one. You said at the beginning you were looking at what area?
At welfare, plus general welfare of people, yes, and kids and like that, yes.
But as you got to learn more, as you were exposed to more content, you were able to evaluate that decision, and then you were able to make that shift.
Yes, ma'am.
That's a very good one. That's a very good one. You know, from time to time, as we get more knowledgeable in different things, it should reflect on the decisions we take. It should reflect. And the fact that there is a connection, there is an experiential connection between this area of social work and you. There's an experiential connection. So definitely, if you go into that area, you will excel. That's just it, because there's an underlying passion. So thank you very much for sharing that with us, Lami.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. Okay, let's move on. Who else is there? Frank, aren't you there?
Hello, everybody. Good evening.
Hello, good evening.
My name is Rosemary. I'm from Enugu State. Honestly, I was working at orthopedic hospital in Enugu. I had my first degree of public health.
All right.
So now I developed the interest in going to social work due to the area I work in, being an orthopedic hospital, see what our patients are passing through. So I decided to at least still seek for the welfare of them, speak for them, encourage them, and counsel them on some areas of life.
All
so
right.
that is I have the interest on work. Thank you.
So what aspect of social work are you especially interested in?
I'm interested on medical social work.
Very good, very good. And why is that?
Because I'm already in the medical, I'm in hospital, seeing what my patients are passing through. That is why I say work for them, at least
exactly,
mouthpiece, so that at least some of them can get well and know their problems, why some are not responding, why some are even feeling damage charge against medical advice. I want to read beyond my area in public health to know more about people's social life.
Yes. A big applause for you for going that extra mile to be of service. Okay, that's a very good one. The fact that you're already in the medical setting and you started looking for ways of adding value to yourself, so that there are mics that needs to be muted, please. Let all mics be on mute, please. Rosemary, mute your mic. Social worker Tere, mute your mic, please. Okay, so I was saying to Rosemary that decision to move on, to add more value to ourselves in order to be of better service to our service users, to the patients she interacts with at the medical facility, that's a laudable one. And I want to assure you, you have taken the right decision. That goes for all the people that have spoken so far. You have taken the right decision to add value to yourself. And the fact that you registered for this course is also something commendable. And the fact that you'll be taking IPE 405, which has to do with communication, means that you are going to be exposed to some principles, to some concepts, possibly some models that will further empower you in your interaction with people in these different areas. We've had someone who is interested in child welfare, childcare. We've had someone who is interested in gerontology. And then we have someone who is interested in medical sociology. If you look at all these different specialties, you'd agree with me that communication is at the bedrock of all of them. Whether you're caring for children, the aged, or the sick, you still need to be able to communicate effectively. Otherwise, your services will just be for you and you alone. You will no longer be helping. You will no longer be providing intervention. You'll just be doing your own thing. So thank you very much, Rosemary. So let's have someone else now. Can we have someone else?
Good afternoon, ma.
Good afternoon, Daniela.
Yeah, my name is Okolo Daniela, and I'm from Anambra State. Also a student of Federal School of Dental College, studying social work. And the aspect of social work I would like to specialize in is child and family social work.
All right.
Yeah.
Why?
My reason for doing that is I kind of have like a fondness for children. So I want to use social work to create like a safe space for them, like a safe environment where they can feel comfortable. And also by doing that, like see how the families can overcome their challenges and thereby building a healthier relationship with their children. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. We are with you. We are behind you. We pledge our full support to you in your chosen specialty. And we are going to team up. Yeah, we're going to team up in the course of this course. As we take this particular course, we are all going to team up to see how each one of us can get useful materials, can get useful tools they can work with in these different areas. For Daniela, she's going to the very roots of society. When you are caring for children, you are caring for families, you are going to the very roots. So when you succeed in solving problems at that level, you are clearing up problems, societal problems, like many years ahead. If you succeed, for example, in giving support to a child, maybe at the age of 3, at the age of 6, you never can tell the trouble you have saved society by just setting that child straight. It might be that child you cared for at the age of 3 would turn out as an armed robber if he or she didn't get that particular care, turn out as a ritual killer. as a kidnapper. But because that intervention was made possible at that stage, nobody would ever know what could have gone wrong. So that's a very good one, Daniela. And I sincerely hope that this course will be of great benefit to you.
Thank you, ma.
Okay, let's have the next person. Marian is there, Frank. I think those are the two people we're waiting to hear from.
Good evening, ma.
Marian, good evening.
My name is Nebe Marian. I'm also a student of Federal School of Dental College. The area I want to specialize is care for the elderly.
Okay, that's beautiful. And why?
Okay, I just have this kind of let me say pity for elderly people, mostly people who are being abandoned by their children. And
Okay.
I think I can be able to provide counseling, emotional companionship for them, and creating a home and where the elderly people can, be taken care of and stay with other elderly people.
Yeah, thank you very much, Marian. That's also a very good one. That's also an important part of society that needs to be professionally addressed. People in different spaces might show some level of care and concern for the elderly, but when we come into that space with professional understanding, with a professional approach, it's going to make a lot of difference. When you have empathy for the elderly, like you just said, and that you go a step further to equip yourself professionally, then you become better positioned to address the problems. You become better exposed to the resources that are available for addressing that problem. And you also become acquainted with the boundaries, with the limits to which you can go when it comes to addressing that particular social problem or caring for that particular social group. So I also believe sincerely that this course will be of great importance to you. So I need you, along with everyone else, to take this very seriously from the angle of what you are trying to become. When you know where you're going and you know what will take you there, you don't joke with what will take you there. It's only people who don't know where they're going, or they know where they're going, they do not understand the value of what will take them there, that don't care, that become careless, that just do things just to fulfill all righteousness. Let it not be like, I didn't go to class. I heard that others are taking IPE, let me also join them. That would be their mindset. But for people who know where they are going and who have identified what can take them there, their attitude will be totally different. That's why we are going through this, bringing to the fore where we want to be. As I'm taking this class, I have my professional projections. I have my ambitions. I have what I have set ahead of me, the standard to which I want to get as a professional. So it is from that backdrop that I'll be doing everything I'm doing with you. It's from that angle that I'll be looking, I'll be reaching out, I'll be handling this assignment that I have been given, from the backdrop of where the level to which I want to take my professional practice, to which I want to take my career as a teacher. So it's the same thing I want you to have in mind. Always set before you where you're going so that you can take seriously what will take you there. Finally, is Honorable Frank with us now?
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. Are you the man of the house? It's beginning to look that way.
No, ma'am. Please, my name is Frank Ferry. I'm a 400 level student of Godfrey Okoye University, Sociology.
Beautiful. It's so refreshing to have a male voice in our midst this evening. I don't know what we would have done without you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I'm interested in school social work.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and I want to, my interests or my what caused my interest to be a school social worker is how to make students to be effective, to connect them to the necessary resources available in the school to make them effective. I remember when I first stepped into the university environment, I couldn't, what can I put it? I couldn't trace some places that I need to go to, and nobody was able to direct me and all of that. It really affected my study a bit, but I was able to catch up. I improvised and I catch up. I just imagine if that gap could be filled so that we have people who can be able to like connect people, connect students to the necessary available resources available in the school, because the school environment is a mix. People from various backgrounds, you don't know their family background and all of that, so they don't pile up their stress and all of that. So we have people who can like address their predicaments, their issues and all of that, and take care of them and make sure that they are in good health by not making them feel frustrated and all of that. So I think, school social worker to me, that is my interest. That's my interest.
Thank you so much. Where are you from, Frank?
I'm from Delta State.
Beautiful. Good to have you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes. And I would also say that you are in the right place. Your choice, the decision to take this course, it's a laudable one. And your area of, your intended area of specialization is also highly commendable. I always feel excited when I meet people who are trying to give to people what they never got. After leaving a particular stage, you look back and you can think about the things you could have done better if you had one or two resources available, and then you're making that available for those coming behind you. I think that is the true heart of a social worker. And this course is going to be of great asset to you as you prepare to take on this aspect of social work. So thank you very much, Frank, for sharing this with us. And thank you very much, everyone. I think the class is a bit more populated now. We can still do better, but at least with what we have for this first day, we can see how far we can go. Please do reach out to your classmates afterwards. Let them understand how important attendance is as far as this course is concerned. I want to believe that if for one reason or the other, subsequently, if I'll be running late, I would quickly make an arrangement so that no one would go off to do something else without knowing the shape or the time the class is going to take off. So please have that at the back of your minds. We don't have that much time. We should have started this last week, so we can afford to let any of our scheduled dates go by without handling one or two aspects of the content we have to cover. So briefly, for the remaining part of the time we have today, let me just take you through. I'm going to make materials available for you in the course of the program, but it would also do you some good if you can take your own notes as we move along. If there are issues that caught your attention or one or two things you want to look up on later or questions you want to ask after the class, it would help if you can just get a good notebook and do your own jottings. Now, I said it's important to understand the rationale for having communication as part of your program at this level. And from the brief discussion we've had, I think a lot has been said concerning what social workers do. You have heard people speak about their interest in different aspects of social work, which also means that social workers can find themselves in a variety of contexts and settings in which they discharge their duties. You can find yourself helping physically challenged people, mentally challenged people. You can find yourself working as a consultant social worker in the military, in the police force, in any paramilitary department. You can find yourself working in medical facilities. You could find yourself working in schools, educational institutions. You can find yourself in social welfare departments of different levels of government. And all of these aspects have their different requirements. The responsibility of a school social worker is not exactly the same as that of a medical social worker. And the fact that social workers can function in such a wide variety of settings does not mean every single social worker must know everything that is done in all of these different areas. In the course of your training, you would, of course, be introduced to basics in quite a number of these different aspects. But it's only when you eventually specialize in that area that you can begin to go deeply into what is being done in that area. Be that as it may, whatever area you might find yourself in, I've said this earlier, you will have to rely heavily on your ability to communicate effectively in order to get the desired results. Whether you are engaging in advocacy, in community social work, in negotiations, under conflict resolution, there is no way there's no going around, there's no circumventing the centrality of communication skills when it comes to what you have to do, what you find yourself doing as professionals. You may have all the good intentions. You may truly want to help a family in crisis, but if you have not been properly trained in understanding the weight of the different skills, the different communication skills, you might find yourself shortchanging yourself. You might be shooting yourself in the leg. You might be working counterproductive to your own agenda without even knowing it. That is how important it is to master communication skills. And each time I refer to communication skills, I need you to understand that the communication skills I'm referring to are under 4 units. Let me refer to them as units or types. And in communication parlance, these 4 skills are referred to as developmental language skills. Developmental language skills. You will discover that every other skill of communication you need to develop will fall within any of these 4 units. So what are the 4 developmental language skills? The first set of developmental language skills is the primary skills. You have the primary skills, which are the skills that are innate. Those language skills that are innate, that do not require formal education to acquire. Those are the primary skills. So in this category, we have 2. The first is the speaking skill. The second is the listening skill. Those are the 2 primary language skills that are used for communication. The speaking skill is primary, the listening skill is primary, and they are called developmental because each one of us is expected to build on the skills. There is a level of proficiency we are on at different stages of our lives. The speaking proficiency of a 3-year-old, for example, cannot be compared with that of a 10-year-old. That's why it's developmental. So if now that you are taking IPE 405, you have a particular proficiency in speaking in whatever language it is you are operating in, it will be expected that by the time you become full-blown professionals, your proficiency in speaking should have increased. That is why it is developmental. The same thing goes for the listening skills. If you have everything in your anatomy working well, if you do not have any biological, physiological, anatomical challenge with your organs of speech, naturally, you begin to speak the language. A child will begin to speak the language of his or her immediate environment, because language is a primary skill. No child needs to go to school to be able to speak. And we need to understand as social workers that no language is superior to the other. It doesn't matter whether that language is being taught in school or not. Every language is equal because they serve the same purpose. Igbo is not better than English. English is not better than Fufude. Swahili is not better than Hausa. The same purpose that I'm looking for one esoteric language. Let's say Chinese, for example. As bogus and complex as it appears to us, the same purpose it's serving for the people in that speech community is the same purpose that obscure language in whatever state of Nigeria is serving for the people who speak it. So a very fundamental mindset you need to have as social workers when it comes to communication is the fact that you do not elevate one language above the other. You do not believe that your own language is better than any other language. The primary function of a language is for communication. In as much as that language is able to fulfill that, it is qualified to be a language in every sense of the word. That is why, for example, if the Prince of Wales, for example, gives birth to a girl and names the girl let me look for one of their names. Names the girl Elizabeth, something like that. And maybe at 3 months, for one reason or the other, that child is given to me. I am a Yoruba woman from the western part of Nigeria. If the Prince of Wales has a daughter and that girl is given to me at 3 months or at 1 year, I'll take that child to my house in Ogun State with all her curly hair and all her pointed nose and everything. By the time that girl begins to speak, will the girl speak British English class?
No, ma.
Never. That girl will not speak British English. Her hair will still be curly. She might even be a blonde. Her nose will still be pointed. Her skin will still be fair or whatever color it is. But when she begins to speak, she will begin to speak the language of her immediate environment, because speaking is a primary skill. The same way we study English here in Nigeria. We study English here in Nigeria, and we say people have failed English. They scored F9, so they can't go for further education because they scored F9. That same English that we are saying somebody scored F9 in, a child that is born where English is the native language doesn't need to go to school to learn that same English that somebody has failed and cannot go to school. So you need to understand first and foremost that when it comes to communication, whatever language is being spoken in your context of operation is the language that your client best understands, is the language you give regard to. It doesn't matter how fluently you can speak the English language. If your client cannot speak English language, you trash that English language, trash it. And look for a way to use a language that represents the primary skill of that client. There are different ways of doing that, and I know that in different classes you'll be exposed to that. But here, I just want to give you this orientation that when it comes to communication, language is central. And when it comes to language, we have the primary skills, we have the secondary skills, and that no language is superior to the other. Fine. So the same way, listening skill, your listening skill is a primary skill because you didn't need to go to school. Nobody taught you how to listen. Just because your organs were functioning well, you saw that you were able to listen. You know, the first stage of listening is hearing. If you can hear a sound, then you have the ability to listen. When you hear a sound, you can now move to the next stage of listening. But if you cannot hear the sound in the first place, you won't be able to listen. And we can also get better with our listening skills. It's also developmental. So that's the first category. The second category is the secondary skills. The secondary skills. They are also developmental language skills. And they are secondary because you need to be tutored. You need to be schooled one way or the other in order to possess those skills. So can we have, what do you think those skills are, the secondary skills, the two of them? What do you think they are? The secondary language skills that we need to be tutored before we can possess them. What are they? My good students, are you there? Are you there?
Yes, ma.
Yes, so people talk in my class. You can't be in a communication class and not talk. It's part of your assessment.
It has to do with schooling, maybe writing, you learn to write.
Writing, that's excellent, Lami. Writing is a secondary language skill. Writing is a secondary language skill. It is a language skill because You are writing what you would have said, what you would have spoken is what you are writing because of the context, because of the task at hand. You know, we are in a class now, we are speaking, I'm speaking because that is what is required. When I send you the class notes, you'll be seeing the same thing that I am saying. That is writing. And it is a secondary skill because you need to learn it. All right, so what else? What's the second one? We have writing as a secondary skill. What else? What do you think is the second one? The second secondary skill? Lami, mute your mic, please. Mute your mic, yes. Who else? Someone else, please.
Okay, I think the ability to read and comprehend.
Very good. Isn't that just wonderful? I think my students here are just top notch. Thank you very much. The ability to read, that's reading, is the second language skill. And writing and reading are also developmental. You are expected, as you progress in your career, to move up in your proficiency in writing and reading. So if you look at these 4 language skills, you'll see that all your communication engagements, one way or the other, will be captured in making use of these skills. There are extensions here and there, because when you look at the speaking, for example, sometimes you might decide to speak using words, like I'm doing now. Sometimes you speak using nonverbal expressions, like your body movements, like the look in your eyes. Sometimes you decide to speak using symbols, like what you wear, maybe your dress, your accessory. You know, so when you look at all the outlets of communication, you see that one way or the other, you can tuck them under one developmental skill or the other. So as professionals, it will do you a lot of good to be concerned about your proficiency in these 4 skills. Because, you know, in the social work intervention method, like we said earlier, whichever setting you find yourself working in, you find yourself making use of different social work intervention methods, whether you are doing group work, you're doing community organization, social welfare administration, social work research, or you are doing casework, or, you know, as it cuts across and overlaps, you find yourself in serious need of communication as a tool to get your desired results. Okay. So that is why this course is very important to your training as social workers. And that will also require that you give it the desired attention. One other thing I would like to talk about in relation to the relationship between communication skills and social work practice is the fact that as a social worker, you're going to be working in line with the professional social work code of ethics. You know, you cannot refer to or any practice as professional without that said practice having a standardized code of ethics. And you will not qualify, you will not be a social worker in the true sense of the word if you do not show utmost regard for the ethics of that profession. So, understanding social work values and ethics will let you see that most of the time, I'm sure you are familiar with the core values, the ethics. I'm talking about things like service, social justice, dignity and worth of the person, importance of human relationships, integrity, and all of that. You know, those are the general core values and ethics of social work. You might also discover that working in different settings will require that you follow the organization-specific ethics. There are core values that are ethics general to all of social work practice. But when you find yourself in some other settings, you're working in a specific organization, you will see that that organization would have codes of conduct, ethics that are unique to them. But you will discover that they will not be at variance with the underlying social work ethics. So you need to work in full consciousness of your ethics, of the ethics of your profession, of the ethics of the organization. And most of the times, the degree to which you comply with the code, with the ethics, with the rules, with the regulation, with the stipulations, with the guidelines of the profession would be shown in your manner of communication. Talking about the dignity and worth of the person, for example, how can you tell the difference between a social worker that upholds that value, that opposes that ethics, and one that doesn't care? One very easy way to tell the difference would be in watching the communication pattern of that social worker. How do you talk to clients? How do you engage people when you are carrying out an advocacy, or you are carrying out a negotiation, or you are in the midst of conflict resolution? How do you comport yourself? How do you, because you are communicating with everything, with the setup of your office, with the way you are dressed, with the expression on your face, you are all the time, whether voluntarily or involuntarily, you are communicating. So, your manner of communication will tell us whether you are upholding the ethics or not. And you know how easy it is to get in trouble as a professional when you are found guilty of working contrary to a stated value or ethical requirements. So let me wrap up this with sharing with you a definition of what it means to be a proficient social worker. I just want to highlight something in that definition to let you see that proficiency in the practice is closely related to ability to communicate effectively. And that is Baker's 1955 discussion or definition of what it means for a social worker to be skillful, the kind of skills social workers need in order to be good at what they do, in order to be proficient and efficient professionals. Baker said, wrote, and I quote, that a social worker's skills include being proficient in, number one, communication. That is the first on the list. Then assessing problems and client workability. That's another skill. Matching needs with resources. That's another skill. Developing resources, and then changing social structures. Let me go over it again, although you see it in your notes. A social worker skill include being proficient in communication. Please let that sink in very well. Being proficient in communication, being able to assess problems and client workability, matching needs with resources, developing resources, and changing social structures. So I believe with that, we've been able to set a good background for why we need to pay special attention to communication and why we need to develop the skills. Hoping that this course will help us do that in one way or the other. So I'm going to rest it now for today. If there are questions, we can quickly take them. If there are none, I would, are there questions before I go on? Okay, so I'm going to call it a day, and I'm going to be wishing you a very beautiful weekend. I'm going to be charging you to please take good care of yourself mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And don't forget that every opportunity you get to be of help is an opportunity for you to develop your social work proficiency, your professional proficiency, let me put it that way. And I also want to say that it's important for you to get someone to represent the class. I'm going to be taking a screenshot of your attendance today, but that's not standard practice. The rep is supposed to take the attendance and pass it over to me. If I have assignments or whatever it is, task I have for the class, I can send that to the rep ahead and she would be in constant communication with you. For me, I have to wait until Friday to speak with the whole class, but the class rep can be in touch with you all through the week. So please, you would do well to select someone to serve in that capacity and reach out to me with the information concerning that. Thank you so much, everyone. See you next class.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, bye.